Welcome in. That's a tap. We're back after a little break. Obviously, we've missed a few things. DJ, great to see you. How you doing?
Man, I'm good. How are you? So many things to talk about, but first things first. How you doing, my man? You were down in sunny Perth. Not so not so sunny when you were there, I heard. But how was your trip?
Yeah, thanks, man. It was great. For those that are wondering, I was in Perth during the UFC 305, but wasn't able to attend actually. But I was spending time with family, and it was a nice little vacation. I did catch the event, of course, and we got lots to talk about with that one, DJ. So that's a good place to start. Obviously the main event, Dricus du Plessis. I had an encounter with Adesanya though at a local shopping centre, which which was a surprise. But
Man,
my nephew shook his hand, and we wished him good luck. That this was
yeah,
actually this Saturday before the event,
before the
and
event, yeah,
unfortunately, yeah, he didn't pull it out. But how did you see
man,
305?
yeah. Before 305, I'll tell you. I'll start with saying how jealous I am that you got to meet him in person. And obviously, the day before the fight. What are the odds? Lucky man. Yeah, I remember when you messaged me. Like I was deep in doing something, and I saw your message, and I dropped everything else. I was just focusing on what you said. Yeah, it was super crazy. 305. That good card, solid card. I think one of the stronger cards that we've seen down under. Um, Especially, I liked it more than the Sydney card they did last year. The main event, obviously, while it wasn't the result wasn't something that we expected or predicted. Compared to, I guess this was more of an entertaining fight in that sense. And
Yeah,
I'm now look, man, like I'm never going to doubt Dricus du Plessis again. That's one. The other is it's now hard to deny that his fights are very entertaining, and he's got like an extremely good finish rate. So man, it was a super good fight. Like it was a worthy of a title fight. I thought there was a lot of hype, um, a lot of hype going into this fight. There was a backstory. There was a genuine beef in this fight. The build up, the animosity, everything was real. There wasn't anything manufactured. Yes, they were. Look, to be honest, I do have to give them props. Like there were times that they came close to the line, but they still kept it totally professional. Both Drickers and Israel Adesanya, because yes, there were things said, words exchanged, but you could see and I think we spoke about this in the preview episode, that there was that underlying respect that you could feel, you could sense. They both respected each other, and that came to the forefront after the fight. But man, look, once the fight started and as it was progressing, I thought, oh look, Easy Adesanya, he's back. This is the best he's looked. He's looking sharp. Movement, and I was like, this is going to be an easy fight for him. He's going to get the job done. Either he's going to knock him out, or um, it's going to be a decision victory for Israel Adesanya. Turns out it wasn't. I think there was look the second round. To be fair, Dricus did come back. There's a few people that sort of saw him winning that, which is fair enough. I thought 1, 3, and 4 up until the stoppage were Israel Adesanya's rounds. And man, like Dricus du Plessis, man, there's no quit in him. He comes forward. He's not shy to take a shot. He's extremely resilient. He believes in himself, and that's sort of one of his biggest strengths, is that how much he believes in himself. And he comes forward and he throws bombs. And one of them caught, like, and he's right. I do 100% agree with him. That fight was won on the feet in that round because in that exchange, Dricus got the better of him toward the end of it, kind of wobbled Israel Adesanya, and then sort of, he saw an opportunity, and that was pretty good fight IQ as well. Instead of just going on, landing shots, he decided, look, you know what, I think I can finish this fight on the ground, so let me take him down. And man, like he got his neck, and that was it. Like he knew when he turned him around, the body lock was firm. Right, as Israel Adesanya pointed out, he did change to that gable grip, and the squeeze. And you look at the guy; he's massive, and his cardio. Man, he looks tired, but he doesn't. I don't know how to explain it. He looks tired, but he's not tired. you know, he fights with the same pace, but he looks extremely labored. His mouth's open. He looks like he's running out of oxygen, and then all of a sudden, like bam, he's he's maintaining that intensity. So, and how about this? Right? How about this? Whether you like him or not, his last three wins are Robert Whitaker, Sean Strickland, Israel Adesanya. I don't. Can there be a better resume for a champion at the moment? You've beaten people who are consistently in the top 10, top 15 pound for pound rankings. You've beaten Israel Adesanya, who's arguably one of the best middleweight champions, one of the longest reigning middleweight champions. You've had Robert Whitaker, who's been one of the mainstays in that top of the division, and who, for the longest of time, everyone was like, if no one named, no one other than someone named Israel Adesanya can beat him. And then Dricus comes and finishes him. And he's the only person he didn't finish was Sean Strickland. And then we also know Sean Strickland, now resilient he is. I think we're going to get that rematch now, which is Sean Strickland versus Dricus. That's been confirmed by Dana, most likely in South Africa, which is good. Turns out eventually it was Dricus who's going to now take the UFC to Africa, or South Africa. But man, I want to get your thoughts on what you thought on the fight, their performances, but also like the post-fight sort of respect that was exchanged between the two warriors.
The breakdown, you did it in terms of Dricus being impressive and how he overcame, adversity because he was losing the fight. There's
Yeah,
no doubt about it. Izzy looked better than he's, looked ever since,
yeah,
the first loss,
yeah,
and tough break for him. And I'm sure he'll bounce back. And
yeah,
he just probably needs to be really careful about the future and taking enough rest
yeah,
to try to get back to winning ways. But
yeah,
yeah, man, I think Dricus just won it with. I guess he's just so versatile, and that's exactly what you said in terms of giving him his flowers. He's great on the stand up. He's just
yeah,
super strong. He's awkward, and
yeah,
like you said, it hit when you just said he's beat Whitaker, Strickland,
yeah,
and Adesanya now. And how many? There's no other fighter in the middleweight division that could take out three out of those four guys right now. There isn't anyone here. So he thoroughly deserves the shot, and
they're
I'm
literally
actually
the
really
top.
looking forward to the Strickland one now, the rematch.
You
How about
are.
you?
Oh.
Yeah, how about
Uh
you?
yeah, I am, because it was such a close fight. It is only rightful for that fight to take place. I'm also keen on the other end to see the winner of Rob Whitaker and Hamsat fighting for that title as well.
Yeah, yeah,
So you know what I mean. Like, so it's just it's a good it's middleweight is in a good place right now. You know what I mean. Either way, whichever direction we go, I'm sure we're going to talk soon about Caio Barrio as well, who picked up a big win uh, a couple of weeks ago. So man, the problem with Israel Adesanya having constantly fought at the top of the division is, like, who does he fight next, right? Because obviously Strickland, I would have thought maybe the Strickland rematch then, but then on the other hand, you got to agree with Strickland. He's he had a close fight. Then he beat Paulo Costa, so he's um, gonna wait for the title shot. On the other hand, I also feel Rob Whitaker's deserving as well. Yes, he lost to Dricus, but since then he's racked up 2 wins. Took on a extremely short notice fight against an unknown, dangerous opponent. Now asked for Hamzat, and he's going to fight him. So if he beats Hamzat, I think it just makes sense. But then again, on the other hand, if Hamzat were to come victorious, I don't know if the UFC will fumble making that main event, because for the longest of time they want Hamzat to be at the top of the division and hold that belt. So we'll have to wait and see. It's an interesting time, like I said. Caio Barrio actually called out Israel Adesanya, so I think that's a good fight for him. That's a
yeah.
sort
I
of,
like it.
yeah, it's a bit of a step back from the level of competition he's been facing. But having said that, we saw what he did to Kanonaya, man. Like, I mean, now that we're in this topic, what were your thoughts on that fight, the Jared Kanonaya? and Kaya Barayo.
Yeah, that's a great place to sort of mix in with this situation, DJ. I think Barrio wasn't like super impressive, but he deserved the win. I think,
Yeah,
Katanaya, his experience showed, and both went to deep waters. I mean,
yeah,
that cut on
Kaya,
Caio Baralo
Kaya
was
Barayo.
massive.
Yeah,
That could have,
yeah,
close to a doctor stoppage, but
yeah.
credit to him. And yeah, he's the next thing coming, and I really like that
Yeah.
opportunity. Maybe give him Adesanya, or I was gonna say maybe Adesanya just fights the loser of Whitaker Hamzat. You
He
know?
could do that. He could
Yeah,
do that. But then what happens, like if, like Whitaker and Adesanya, we're seeing it for the third time. Yeah, it makes sense because it's not for a title, and that's probably the only
because
way
yeah,
that third
both would
fight
be
is going to
coming off a
place there.
loss, so
Yeah,
you got to feed some hungry mouths
yeah.
and pair two losers against each other.
Yeah, yeah. And then don't forget the sleeper fight that's happening as well. Nasruddin Imavov versus uh, Brandon Allen. That's another fight for that top division because Imavov is ranked number 4, if I'm not mistaken, or 5. So he's in the top 5, man. It's like, so, that's another good fight for Adesanya because Imavov is a kickboxer too. Um,
Yeah, or
but yeah,
Alaskarov, maybe.
Alex Carroll probably not for Adesanya, maybe like because he'll probably need to come out. He'll probably look into fighting a little bit above him, but then try and get back into his winning ways and get that confidence back. Because we saw what happened when he mixed with the top division, the top of the division, right? And Robert Whittaker's not an easy fight to come in and take on short notice, man. Like it's just no joke. I am extremely nervous for the Robert Whittaker Hamzat fight. Um, I don't know why he took it, but that's why we're not fighters; they're fighters.
But I
It was
get
a
it.
great.
Did you see him explain why he took it?
Yeah, yeah,
Because
no,
he
no, he did. Yeah, because I like how and he's operated like that, and this is why he's one of those guys extremely loved by everyone. Is because of that mindset. He's an absolute killer. He's a terrifying fighter, right? He could beat anyone up, but at the same time, he's very grounded, but and also extremely humble about how he goes about things. It's like, I'll keep winning, and then the title shot will eventually come, and it sort of like talks volumes about his work ethic. Yeah, but it's just, as fans, it just makes us nervous because we felt like he was very close to that third title shot when he fought Drickers, because that was that title eliminator, and unfortunately he fell short with Drickers, and yeah, so we had to wait
yeah,
and see.
one of the things that makes Whitaker so dangerous is that you kind of get the sense he has no care about losing. Like he has no fear, and that's
Yeah,
what makes a fighter the most dangerous, DJ, in
correct.
terms of why he just wanted that doubt to be silenced. Like, against
Yeah,
Hamzat. He's like,
yeah.
remember he got asked that silly question, and he clowned that reporter. He's like, all right, I'm just gonna wait till he's healthy and beat him. You know.
If I had wheels on my bike, that was the best
Yeah.
response
What
ever.
if I had waffles instead of scrambled egg?
Best response. That's why, like I said, that's why he's loved. Yeah, no, look, big things happening in the middleweight division, but let's go back. Let's shift our focus back to 305 because there's a lot more that happened, right? Obviously, the Corey main event, man, was a little bit of a heartbreak. We since his last fight, which is UFC 301 in Rio de Janeiro, we've fallen in love with Astro Boy, Steve Erceg, and we were expecting him to sort of do well. It was a short-lived fight. It was a quick turnaround, but man, Kai Kara France looked on point. It wasn't the moment he started that the moment that fight started, it looked like he just couldn't lose. It was extremely involved, extremely pressurized. He pressured. That's what I was trying to say. So he kept the pressure on, and I think sort of maybe Steve was expecting a slower start. Wasn't the case, and we've seen him knock out so many people. Kai Kara, that is, and same thing. It did, props to him. He did get up, but it buzzed him so much. He was out of it. There was no way that fight. I think the stoppage was fine. There was no issues. It was just heartbreaking. Obviously, Perth in his own backyard, so it is what it is. He'll bounce back. I'm looking forward to seeing what his next fight is. And then, yeah, man, Kai Kara France, undoubtedly, I reckon, will fight for the title next. because Pantoja doesn't have a fight locked in. So I believe that'll happen probably in December or something. And Kai Kara France has a really, really good chance of taking that belt off Pantoja. So just have to wait and see.
Yeah, it looks like DJ that the break gave Cara France a good reset
Mm,
because remember his
yeah,
stock was pretty low and come off a loss and he
yeah,
obviously through injury missed the earlier bout that he had to recover from
yeah,
and then
yeah,
he clearly looked super dominant against a contender Steve Erceg who his time will come. Um, such a shame for him, but yeah, I'm not worried about his future because I think
nah,
Steve's going to bounce back and get that
nah,
chance.
it's gonna bounce back.
He's early in the organization, and I
Yeah,
think his fight IQ is super good, and
yeah,
his talent. But yeah, let's see Kai Kara versus Pantoja. I'm
absolutely.
100% keen for that, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Going to be a banger of a fight. Then we had that Dan Hooker. No, wait. Before that, we had the Tai Tuivasa versus Rosenstrike. It was there was a lot of controversy in that fight with the one judge scoring all three rounds for Tai Tuivasa. As much as I'm a massive fan of him, I didn't think that he won that fight. I think Rosenstrike did win, and I think everyone agreed on that. It's just that it was a very bizarre scorecard, but I don't know what to make of it. But all we know is that judge was relieved of his duties for the rest of the night.
It was insane, like but I don't know. He was from Australia, am I correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I believe so. Yes,
So that just makes it look
man.
even worse. That just makes it look
Wait,
even worse. But
yes.
yeah, it was a complete domination, and yeah, rightfully so. He was relieved, and
Yeah,
thank God he didn't get to judge any of the other ones. Right?
yeah.
Not that we needed it because we had some stoppages.
Stoppages. Yeah. I mean, man, it was. This is why you should. Had you been there front row, they would have just asked you to judge it. Hey, we've just lost a judge. Can you get behind the podium? We need some 10-7 rounds in here.
Where's
um.
Volk when you need him?
Oh, yeah, stepping up on short notice. He actually was in the front row. With Yuri Prohashka.
Yeah. Speaking of
uh,
which, we'll touch on Tapuria and what's happening with him. Maybe a
yeah,
Holloway. We've got lots to
yeah,
talk
of
about
course.
after this.
But man, how do we not talk about the fight of the night? Matthews Gamrot versus the Hangman Dan Hooker. Man, these guys just brought it. Like much respect to Gamrot as well. Like we know how Dan Hooker fights. We know his fighting style, but Gamrot, got a lot of criticism for his last fight in terms of sort of being too lukewarm. He came in with a point to prove, flew like a fair bit. Came to Australia where not a lot of people were, willing to take this fight, put his ranking on the line. Obviously, as we can see, it did cost him a bit. But man, it was an exciting fight. Gamrot was strong, and then man, Hooker. It was a close fight. Like obviously, it could have gone either way, and that's what makes these fights fight of the night. Close fights, which could go either way. It wasn't a robbery in any way. It was a close fight. Like I thought, like Hooker's intensity was a lot higher, and I thought, like, you know what, I mean, I see Hooker winning this, so I wasn't upset with the decision. But I did see online there was maybe some Gamrot fans and some Polish fans that weren't really a fan of the decision. But man, I agree with the decision. I thought it was a great fight. I do think Gamrot's stock went up too, as opposed to what happened in the last fight. Yes, his ranking plummeted a little bit, 3 spots down. But this now also gives the opportunity because when you get someone as interesting as Dan Hooker back in the top of the division, number 5, you've got options now. And what we're hearing, the buzz on the street, is that Charles Oliveira might be stepping in and standing across the octagon with Dan Hooker. When they will do it, we don't know. But the only 2 cards that are left to be announced are Madison Square Garden and the December card. And the one thing we know is that those 2 cards are always stacked. So, stay tuned. Watch this space, watch Dana's space, and looking forward to seeing what's going to happen.
Yeah, I like that what you just said, man. I think Hangman is a national treasure that, or
Sure.
for the UFC in terms he just brings it, and hopefully they up his bonuses or his contract because well, certainly if he wins against Oliveira, then it's serious. But I don't want to be a downer. I don't think he's at Oliveira's level. I think Hooker is great at taking punishment, giving punishment, but he's not as technical.
Yeah,
And I think Oliveira should be heavy favourite in that one. But he absolutely deserves the shot, DJ,
yeah,
in terms of like fans are going to tune in, we're going to tune in, and it's going to be entertainment. But I think
yeah.
Oliveira would win. How would you think it would go?
Yeah, man. Like it, obviously the fight on paper would favor Charles Oliveira, but there are some people in the UFC you just can't, uh, can't sort of like write out or write
Discount,
off,
yeah.
discount, and that Danuk is one of them. A lot of people would have expected Gamrot to sort of take him down and get the job done because of how strong Gamrot's wrestling is. Danuk is also a very hard person to take down. One thing Danuk is like he's resilient and he will just keep coming forward. And Charles Oliveira traditionally takes a lot of damage early on in a fight, before he comes back. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. But I know maybe it'll be in the UFC's best interest for Charles Oliveira to win because they want to probably make that title shot match up again with Islam. But it'll be a good fight. It'll be a good fight because guess you put two people who have never had a boring fight together. You know, uh, MMA Matt would say that would have like a stellar fight, but things have gone. We have seen things happen that are that we least expect as well. So you never know.
Yeah, definitely, and look, it's now or never for Hooker too. I think he's 33, thirty
Yeah,
four, so he's got a couple of years, hopefully longer, but yeah, great chance. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about, yeah, in the final topic of the episode, we'll talk about the latest, where things stand, and with
yeah,
Dana set to make big announcements. Obviously,
yeah,
Poirier is a
yeah.
huge factor in terms of, and Connor, finally we
Connor
might
as
be
well.
getting some
Yeah,
confirmation. But yeah,
yeah.
anything else from 305 that
Man, I
that
do
you want to
want
mention?
to. Jack Jenkins had a good fight. Stoppage. Um, Wherever Burns seems like it's now become a tradition where he just gives up halfway in the fight, and didn't seem like he wanted to continue. But Jack Jenkins was having some really good success. That fight was, the finish was imminent. So it happened the way it happened, but the finish was imminent regardless. So big win for him. Keen to see what's coming up next. There was some controversy with Junior Taffa and Walter Walker, verbal tap and altercation sports fight. I know the UFC is not a big fan of that, but it seems like it's just got blown over. So I would like to think they will make that fight next with Justin Taffa and Walter Walker. And then we got to talk about the main card opener, man. Carlos Prates versus Li Jingliang. Not a successful return to action for Li. Devastating knockout. Got performance of the night. Man, that team is doing really well. Silva, there's Prates, and then there was Barrio who had a really good win. They all come from the same team, and these guys having some big success, man. So, yeah, look, 305 overall, it's a good card, but let's do our tradition. We've got to give the card a score, So yeah, I'd like to hear your score first.
Oh, of course. Yeah, it might be a slight bias, but we keep it straight here and honest.
Yeah,
I think you could give it a solid 8. You could
yeah,
give it a solid 8. Maybe not
yep,
8.5 because it
yeah,
could have gone up maybe a
yeah,
slight a slight
yeah,
notch. But
yeah,
yeah, local talent Casey O'Neill got the win.
yeah,
That was
yes,
good as well.
yeah.
Corlabao unfortunately lost to Ramos.
Which was a
Um,
very controversial decision, though. Yeah,
mm,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
and look, we've talked our piece on the start times as well. I don't think it's great for the local fighters to fight in the morning, but it is what
absolutely
it
not.
is. They
Yeah,
need the eyes of the audience internationally,
yeah,
especially the US.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. And because the international audience are so starved in terms of in-person events, right? How often does the UK get an event? Maybe thrice a year, twice a year. How often does Australia get an event? Maybe once a year. So they know that they bank on that. So they know that look, even if we do it at 2 a.m., people are going to come because it's so rare, and the UFC has that. market value, that brand image, and that fan following, where they know they will tune in because the quality of the product is there. They rarely put out, fights or products with below expectations. Like the last time they had like a dud, even the cards that are really really thin and slim, you still see them deliver, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like some of their normal fight night cards, like these unknown under the radar cards, perform better than some of the other organizations, to be honest. So it's just because they have that ability. I think it's gonna take a lot for, unless you're a country like Abu Dhabi, where the country already is investing a lot of money in the product, which is UFC, or Saudi Arabia. They're not going to be inclined to change that too much because we know, obviously being here, sort of behind the scenes, it's obviously to boost the economy and everything for the Australian market as well, the Australian economy. So it's more a favor for, we saw how busy Perth was, man. Like I had friends tell me like, man, Perth's never been this busy. You know what I mean? Like, the CBD that weekend apparently was like non-stop. And let's not forget, obviously, the Springboks and the Wallabies had their game the night before, I believe. Um, but still, regardless, I mean, so it does bring in that revenue that they're trying to raise as well in terms of like the country's economy. So it's just, yeah, it's just going to be a tough task to, especially for UK and Australia, to look at times that suit the local audience better. Maybe, hopefully, one day we get a fight night. I don't want to wish too much, but yeah,
Yeah, because also I'll just add before we move to the local fight, the recent fight night. I think yeah, UFC is entering or late stage negotiations with broadcasters, ESPN and that. Don't forget the
yeah,
prelims are still free on ESPN. So imagine the eyes and the
yeah.
advertising dollars and maybe a nice negotiation decision employee in new contract talks to keep things friendly
Yeah,
for TV. We've always mentioned the gate takings aren't as much as the broadcast deal, you know?
yeah, yeah. Absolutely, 100%, man. And yeah, before we move on to the next one, I'll give my score. I'd go with an 8.5 actually, purely for the main event, not just that fight day, but the fight. It was built up well over a year. We know what the build up was around. You don't need to hash that again and again. I don't think the way they still the underlying respect, but still the intensity in terms of the exchanges in the press conferences and the emotions that were flying high, and to get to fight night and the main event delivered, man. Like, it, it had everything. Israel Adesanya was flowing, and then we had Dricka show his resilience, Dricka show his ability to mix things up, and then him getting that finish, making that fight chaotic, and all that, and then the post fight respect that was shared between all of them. I think I liked the whole culmination of it was pretty good to see, and I really enjoyed it. And yeah, for that reason, like the only reason is going from I understand why you gave it an 8, and I would have been 8 too. Had it not been for the main event, not just the night of the event, but everything that surrounded it. So I think it was a worthy title fight after a long time. You know what I mean? Like it was both guys showcase why they deserve to fight for that title, why one was a champion and why the other was fighting for that title. You know what I mean? It wasn't just like a one-sided shutdown. So it was one of the best title fights in recent times. So yeah, like I mean, we saw with the UK one, like the Leon Edwards one. Unfortunately, man, it was just pretty one-sided. Like Leon Edwards didn't seem like didn't know what was going on. So it was good to see that level of uh, the caliber of skills shown in that fight. So yeah, man, 8.5. And on that note, there was a lot surrounding that. This will probably lead us into the next topic. We had a very familiar name previously attached to the middleweight division, but currently in the light heavyweight division, a current superstar of the UFC. You probably know who I'm going to say, Alex Portan Pereira. Putting out a tweet and an Instagram post and everything saying, "I'm going back down to middleweight," and Drickus' team seemed to be welcoming it. First of all, what were your thoughts on that?
I love it. No
Yeah,
surprise. 'Cause I think Potan just like like a lot of Brazilians. I'm not going to say every Brazilian because
Yeah,
I don't know every Brazilian, but the Brazilians I know, they're just like fly by the seat of their pants. It's just like whatever comes their way, and
yes.
he's no stranger to danger. He wants it. He wants everyone. He's the Brazilian Conor Mack.
Oh man,
I'll have you. I'll have you. And
he's a
I think he
superstar.
just, yeah, he is. Like, in the UFC, better give him, he better be the highest paid fighter. Like, I don't know. I'd love to get your opinion on that. Who should be the highest paid fighter in the game right now? Maybe outside of John Jones.
Man, I reckon, yeah, you make a good case. Like, if you look at what Alex Pereira has done and the amount of attention he's bringing to the sport, even like mainstream audience uh, kind of know who he is. When he came for a visit here, he was like collaborating with all these local bloggers, and some of them had nothing to do with MMA. And that's sort of the level of popularity that he had, man. And it is
Remember, he
pretty
was
cool to.
like just walking past Flinders Street Station
Yeah.
and like people didn't even know who he was.
Oh man, he's a beast of a man. He is going to be, though, call it an unpopular opinion, but I don't want him to go back to middleweight. I don't think it's a good fight for him. I think Dricus Du Plessis is very strong down there, like as in middleweight. He's draining himself, and see what happens when he drains himself. It's not easy, man, because it's not like you're cutting weight. It's not you. Yes, people say, "Oh, you're gaining the weight back," but you put your body through that 2 days prior to the fight. You're cutting weight up until the last point. You're draining. You're giving your body's not focusing on recovery or anything else now. It's almost shutting down because you're pushing it beyond your limit because you're pushing it past the threshold. So it does impact you on fight night. You know what I mean? Like it's just crazy. So I think if they were to fight, maybe do it at 205 because Drickus is a big 185er, right? But I think right now there's enough happening in that division for them to sort of, let that sort of go, get pan out and see how it goes. I know Alex now has a fight booked in. He's got Khalil Roundtree. Am I excited for that fight? Absolutely, man. It's like a striker's dream. It's going to be like non-stop action. Mark my words. Early prediction: that fight is not going the distance. But very shocking decision, right? Because Ankalaev's fighting 3 weeks later. Do you know what I mean? Is there a restriction for him to fight in the US? I don't know what's going on because he doesn't seem to be getting that title shot. He got it once, and then obviously that draw happened, and then it seemed like the UFC sort of got annoyed. I don't know what's going on. But then Ash said, "Look, if Ankalaev wins the next one, then yeah, that's his next one is his title shot, and he's fighting Rakic. So that's a big fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
So
think I think Dana's dropped some hints that they do sometimes favor fighters that are good to negotiate with, or
mm,
Hunter Campbell
yeah,
and Sean and the guys that do all the matchups. Maybe
hmm
if you're
not on the block high.
notoriously, yeah, if you're notoriously difficult to deal with, you might be left on the outer. Bilal had to wait forever to get a shot.
Man. But I mean, look, it is no secret. Obviously, there's a lot of eyeballs thanks to Alex Pereira, and it's not wrong for us to think that Ankalaev poses the biggest threat because of sort of his wrestling background and also how good he is. He's well rounded. So I think maybe not risking that yet. That could be another thought process. Alex Pereira is quite confident. He's been calling out Ankalaev and vice versa. I don't think either one of those guys, they're fine to fight each other. It's just I think maybe they're waiting to see how things pan out. I was surprised though, like coming off of what happened with Khalil Roundtree, the Jamal Hill fight, it was booked, and then obviously there was a PED situation. I would have thought they might try and make the Jamal Hill fight again, but that wasn't the case. But then again, Jamal Hill had his own injuries as well, so um, but it is what it is. It's a great fight, though. Main event for UFC 307. Man, this guy's had three main events this year. It's just nuts. It's- I can't believe it. You know, he's carrying the UFC, and you're right. You know what? I'm with you. I'm with you, CD, because yeah, he deserves to be like one of the highest paid fighters, 100%.
Yeah,
Like he's
he's
carried
action
three pay
man,
per views.
and
Yeah,
he's like saving animals on rooftops and.
Man,
doing all sorts of different
man,
things.
he's in like cancer hospitals, and he's in like all of these things. He's doing good. He's in reels, blogs. I don't know, man. You name it. This guy's everywhere. So yeah, I'm yeah, 100%. He's extremely marketable.
Yeah,
People love him. The UFC loves him. Like, I mean, he just needs to keep doing what he's doing. That's it.
yeah, and I'll thank you for sending me a reel that had me in tears. The one where he's in the barber shop, and
Oh,
the
oh, the best
Maoris,
man.
you know, he's like
And
in
Thai
all sorts of
Tuivasa
ads.
was in it too. Oh man, it's you. I'll send you some more. Like, there's so many funny ones with him. Um, but hey, look, I wanted to ask you this. We obviously now we know pay-per-views up until October, right? We're getting two in October, two pay-per-views in October. Man, I'm ecstatic. So we've got 2 more months to go, two more pay-per-views to go. Which one so far? What we've seen also and announced. What's your most favorite card so far?
Like the out of the next couple coming up.
And the past ones that we've already seen.
Oh,
Like, we know UFC 300 is pretty up there, right? Like, it's hard to top that. There's that. But also then, sort of putting your guesswork into play. And with the cards that we have in front of us too, sort of stacked meter and all that. What do you think? What do you think is going to be the best card announced out of all of it? Will
yeah,
300 retain its top spot, or will we see someone else emerge?
yeah, we'll definitely see someone. I've got my eye on November, December. You know,
Oh shit.
no
Okay.
DJ. November for obvious reasons, but December they might want to try to end the year with a bang.
For the
But
Mac.
yeah, but just for a showcase like Noche, the way they've hyped it up and the way he's talked about it
Yeah.
is the best live event, combat sports live event ever, and it'll be never to be repeated. Like,
Yeah.
imagine what that's going to be like. And I know the main event's not as exciting, although it is still exciting. But obviously, Sugar Sean O'Malley and Marab. I
Yeah.
mean, the Sphere. It's going to be
Yeah.
awesome. That'll
Man.
probably come close second. How about you?
Man, I can't believe how you missed UFC 308. How did you miss UFC Abu Dhabi? How did you miss that? That's the best card of the year announced so far. If the card goes the way we think it's gonna go, and if the card goes the way we think the fighters are gonna perform based on their performances in the past, it's gonna be hands down one of the best cards. It's gonna beat UFC 300 out of the park. Look, let me
Okay,
just read
sell it to
out some
me.
names. Let me refresh your memory there, CT. I was about to finish that question with there's only one right answer, yeah. And you said every card but that. Okay, listen to this, okay? Let's go. You got main event Ilya Topuria, who's become a sensation in Europe, who's got one of the most crisp striking and well-rounded games, taking on the global superstar Max the Blessed Holloway, the current BMF champion. That's main event for you. Then you got the core main, right? The people's champ, the champ from down under, Robert the Reaper Whitaker, taking on Hamzat Chimaev, the boogeyman of that division, right? Like, and another superstar. That's co-main event, 5 rounds. Like, you know what? Let me make it better. 5 rounds. All right. What's the third fight? Oh, would you look at that? You got Cyril Gahn taking on Alexander Volkov. These are all main events, man. These are all main events in a in a fight night. Cyril Gahn, Alexander Volkov. Oh wait, is that a light heavyweight fight? Oh, look at that. Mago and Ankalaev taking on Rakic. Then you got Laurent Murphy, and your man is fighting in this card. Dan 50K Ige. Oh man. And then you know what? There's more. There's Jeff Neal taking on RDA, Rafael Dos Anjos. You got Abbas Magomedov. Another list of names. And man, like, that's crazy. That's
Man,
crazy.
I'm not sure to be a conspiracy theorist, but the UFC does seem to favor the Middle East and giving
Man,
them
hey,
the best
hey, the
cards,
money,
right?
the money talks, yeah. The money talks. But hey, on you did bring up a good point though. The UFC Noche is happening next week, actually, not this weekend, but the next weekend. Are you surprised by the lack of hype? Like, I don't know, like this. I'm just going based off me and my thoughts on this. Is that I'm more excited for UFC 308 than Noche. I'm actually also more excited to see Alex Pereira back. I'm more excited for Alex Pereira versus Khalil Roundtree as opposed to Noche. And I think part of it is it fell victim to the hype that was, built up with Dana White constantly, saying this event. And I think now I'm getting it. What he meant is the production, right? Because apparently there's going to be, like, I think you sent me this, like there's going to be movies introducing each fight, and that goes into the fight, and it's like an immersive experience. So it's the experience. Like in reality, if you really do go back, like it's like he did promise like there's going to be a heavy Mexican card, which is true. Like he never promised like we'll have 10 title shots in there, like in none like that. He just said, look, it's going to be a good guy. And it's a solid main event. It's like a Sean O'Malley's fighting. Obviously, it's another big star, and then we got Alex Grasso and Valentina Shevchenko. It's just that I think maybe we misunderstood what Dana was trying to say. Maybe the way he hyped it, but I was expecting more. Like I feel like I'm being a bit let down. Like yes, I'm excited to see that fight, but I'm very picky. I just want to see maybe the top two fights. You know what I mean? And the ticket price is apparently outrageous to go in to watch it, which is again understandable if it is that special about this card is that experience. Then yeah, I understand
Yeah,
that. But man,
no, I completely understand where you're coming from. And I thought that probably a month or two ago. But since then, I've started to sort of think of it from a different angle where,
yeah,
like, and just listening to Dana talk a little bit more, DJ, about
yeah,
it being like a love letter to Mexico, and being
yeah,
more of a cultural event. So maybe not
yeah,
an event that is supposed to win the headlines in terms of matchups. Because, I mean,
yeah,
let's face it, you just did a great job of selling us on all those other cards, the other
yeah,
one, and it's hard to compete with that. So
yeah,
maybe they
yeah.
just look at it like, what we're spending so much bread on production that we can't
Mm.
afford to be, stacking it with all
Probably.
these big
Yeah,
time fights. But yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
and I think.
hopefully it delivers.
I think the leak didn't help either. It's like there was an incorrect leak saying that the main event is Ilya Tapuria, Max Holloway, and the co-main is Sean O'Malley and Marab, and that makes it a whole different scenario, right? But again, like it did fall victim to that hyping up by Dana White mostly, but still, like good fighters. So I'm still tuning in for that card without a doubt. It's just more of okay, well, is it worth like paying 5K to go in? We'll have to wait and see. And plus, like the other interesting thing is we haven't really been like it hasn't been explained like how um it is going to be for the audience who are watching on TV. Like, is there going to be something special for us too? Like obviously we can't experience the same immersive experience not being in the arena, but is it going to be like is there going to be something special for us? Included
Yeah,
that pay per view.
100%. I think yeah, he was asked that, DJ, and he said yeah,
Oh yeah.
even the viewer experience is going to be
Oh
second to
nice.
none in terms of like camera production quality. Angles from
Yeah.
the fighters behind their shoulder as they walk
Yeah.
out. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
think
Yeah. And I
different
did.
360 camera angles and all of that.
Yeah. And I did see the footage you shared with me with the fight of Alex Pereira and Yuri Prohashka in that arena, like sort of in that sphere screen. And it was pretty crazy, man. Like even to watch it, it looked pretty crazy good. So yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch it. So yeah, pretty excited. Yes, not as excited as I am for 308.
yeah, definitely, man. And yeah, we've done a great job of catching up and covering quite a
Yeah,
bit. But yeah, Dana did said he's going to a lot of things to announce still in terms of maybe
yeah,
Conor McGregor,
yeah.
January.
Hmm.
What are you most waiting forward to in terms of us waiting for what's coming?
I think that confirmation on the John Jones fight, man. Like I think we're now about a month and a half out. We still haven't had like official confirmation. But John Jones is saying it's done, so I think the UFC probably has to announce it. They're doing a lot of John Jones promo, so I would like to think it's all but done and just announce it. Let's just make a big splash out of it. I think they'll do it on the cusp of UFC Noche. I think that's probably what they do. Maybe they'll release the trailer for that fight in that event. So I think that's probably the most imminent thing that I'm looking forward to, which is that announcement of that big fight, Stipe versus John Jones, and then obviously the Conor Mac, knowing what's going on there. But you seem to have, you seem to be on the right track because Conor McGregor is very notorious for fighting in January. Most of his cards are going to the Donald Cerrone fight, the Dustin Poirier fight. They've always been in January, so maybe we will get that January fight. It's quite confusing when Dana said, "Oh, there's a Holloway fight in news coming." I don't know what that is because Holloway's fighting in 2 months. And he also said, like, "Oh, there's going to be." Did he say Dustin Poirier? No, he didn't. But Dustin Poirier tweeted out saying in Mexican, I think he said, or like Spanish, like there's one more. So yeah, like
Yeah, and Mike
speculation is that it's
Chandler,
gonna,
he's been waiting forever.
man, you gotta like, I mean, for that alone, you gotta think the Conor McGregor fight is Chandler, right? Like I can't think it being Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier. So it's crazy, man. It's just so crazy. But I think Dustin Poirier, I mean, like the rumor is that he's probably going to fight Colby Covington, which is pretty good because he still looks good, man. Like he's still he's not diminished. Even that fight with Islam, he took Islam to the brink. I think if he is able to get a win over Colby Covington, he has a good chance of fighting for the welterweight title. So it's pretty crazy. So we just got to wait and see. But yeah, man, like Dustin Poirier fighting, sign me up. Like that guy is entertainment, personified.
Yeah, that's a good way to end it, I think. I'm looking forward to seeing what's next for Dustin. But yeah, you hit it with the John Jones one, Connor. I mean, what else is there left? Will we ever see Stipe? Will Tom Aspinall be a surprise step in, and we finally get the one that the people want? Although
We all want
I
it.
might be in the minority, but I still want to see the Stipe, the
Me too, man.
nostalgia.
100%.
You know.
Me too. Me too. 100%. I'm with you. For me, the thing is, I want to see both fights. Do you know what I mean? I want to see both fights. So we just have to. But it's funny how things change. Like, 2 years ago, everyone was clamoring for that Stipe versus John Jones fight. Now everyone's saying, nah, fight Tom Aspinall. Like, sort of kind of gives you a glimpse into how quickly the landscape changes.
Oh, man, Cyril Gahn. Remember, he was the
Yeah.
guy that was like going to rule the division forever. And then
Yeah.
Pavlovich. Those guys have
Yeah, man.
faded into the sunset, kind
Yeah.
of,
Yeah.
you know?
I can guarantee you Tom Aspinall will be the backup if that fight happens. The Stipe Jones. It has
Yeah,
to be.
definitely.
Makes
Good
sense. It
chance
makes
of being a
sense.
backup.
Yeah.
Good chance of
But,
actually fighting.
but like it's just, I don't know if maybe that's what the delay is. Maybe they're saying, oh, Tom will be the backup, and then maybe John Jones and Stipe are saying, nah, we can't do it. We need full camps to prepare for them. Like maybe they're saying if one of us falls out, like the fight's not going ahead. Because like I mean they're both legends of the game, right? Like they don't have to do short notice fights. So that's probably maybe that's what it is. So yeah,
Yeah, let's hope they don't spar as hard on the week before. That'd be,
please.
man, we can't afford another fallout for that one. It'd be I don't have it in me. Honestly, how bad I want to see it, but if Stipe or Jones fall out, like that's it. I'm
Yeah,
not holding out for it ever again
I don't
because
think it
it's
should
like,
happen again. If they fall
yeah,
out, just stop it. Do the Tom Aspinall fight. You know what I mean? That's what it
yeah,
is. Yeah.
100%. Because I mean, Stipe is like 42 now, right? And he hasn't even been in the cage. Like, I mean, I was like
Ngannou was in the
a
UFC
couple
then.
of 100,000 less grey hairs by the
Oh
last
man.
time he was in the octagon.
And
um,
and Tom
but
Aspinall put a yeah. Sorry, you go.
I was just going to add quickly on the Noche. Did you hear that Canelo? They put him on the same night to go
Yeah,
up
yeah,
against the
yeah.
UFC.
And Dana wasn't really happy about it. Oh well, but it's not the first time they've done it. But they've always waited. But I think this time, because he's going with, because usually traditional is always team model, and this time they're doing the sphere. Maybe you know they're like, oh, we're going to compete with you. We're going to stack this card up.
Yep. And then we will talk a little bit about boxing in our upcoming episode because Mr. Turkey, esteemed Turkey Al Sheikh, is
Yep.
planning on some big things. He's been
Yeah, man. Oh,
putting out a lot.
Joshua Dubois is happening in 2 weeks' time as well. Don't forget. Yeah, the UK
Yep.
showdown.
Yeah. And Tim Tszyu
Yeah,
landed a title bout as
about yeah.
well. So,
Yep.
yep. Never any rest in the combat sports world, and we love talking about it. It's been a good catch up, DJ, and I look forward to our next episode. We promise it won't be as long
Yeah.
since the last one, but thanks
Yeah.
everyone for listening. Drop us a like and subscribe on YouTube if you're listening from there. And we'll be coming at you soon, DJ. Peace.
Peace.